Welcome to the Wellness for Women show, where we talk about life, weight loss and everything in between. I'm Faye Caseman, founder of the AAA Way Life and Weight Loss Programme, and I'm here to help you put together the pieces of life and weight loss for one last time. Hello, and welcome to episode number 84 of the Wellness for Women show of life, weight loss and everything in between. And today I've got an exciting topic to explore, one that has definitely captured my fascination since I began my journey as a belief coding facilitator. Where do cravings come from? So if you've caught my show before or you're in the Wellness for Women membership, you know that I am not far off becoming an accredited belief coding facilitator. I think I might have mentioned it a few times, which is incredibly exciting. And I'm also pursuing my master's in belief coding as well, which will help me to bring this transformative practice to even more people because I'll be able to deliver it in groups, which is going to be absolutely ace. I'm also the food freedom group expert in a friend of mine's self-care membership. And this also was one of the topics of this month. Where do cravings come from? Well, it was actually the topic for the month in there was about the inner child. And this is in part what I came out with as part of my group expert training in that particular container. And so as we are going to talk a little bit about the inner child, why don't you pull up a beanbag, get a carton of juice, and I will start to dive in. So today the focus I want to help you to look at is your relationship with food. But I think first, let me just clarify what I actually mean by that. You could be new to the podcast, new to the show. So when I talk about your relationship with food, I'm referring to the physical, the emotional, and the physiological sides and the psychological sides of it all. So, and all those connections that you have with what you eat, if you're working on weight loss, the connections with weight loss. So it encompasses how you view food, the emotions that it stirs within you, the thoughts and beliefs that you hold about it. And my mission is to help women to find food and life freedom by shifting their relationship with food, one bite, one belief at a time, for sustainable weight loss, sustainable change. So let's get started. So, and I mean us. So when I said let us get started, I mean us, because I would love to hear from you. So no matter whether you're watching this live, whether you're catching the replay on Facebook or YouTube or the podcast, or you're reading this in the blog, because these podcasts get turned into a blog as well, what I want to know is, how would you describe your relationship with food? Would you classify it as positive, negative, neutral? Maybe it's a mix. Maybe you just want to say it's complicated. But I would really like to know what your relationship with food, how would you define your relationship with food? So if your relationship with food is already positive, absolutely fantastic. And I am super excited to hear that. But still watch on, because it's also about celebrating that positivity as well. And I would say that probably most of us are a bit of a mix, but certainly if you've been somebody who's dieted over the years, our relationship with food and ourselves can be a little bit knocked. But like I say, there's always room to explore, right? And if your relationship with food is less than ideal, if it's a bit of a mix, if it's a bit complicated, then of course there's plenty of room for growth and healing, and we can obviously work through this together. So I say, listen on to the show. So by delving into the root causes of your beliefs around food and starting to work on healing them, you can transform your relationship with food. And it doesn't have to be some kind of drastic act like probably all the other diets that you've probably ever done in the past. You know, you can take it easy. It is about one bite, one belief at a time. And it's about doing so with love and curiosity. So it's all about looking to ditch the restriction, ditch the diet drama. And part of this is also about getting in touch with your inner mind. And of your inner mind is, of course, your inner child. And I'm not an official inner child practitioner, but through my belief coding work and part of my AAA Way food freedom process, it is about connecting in ultimately with your past. So connecting in with your inner child. I can help you to do that on a conscious and a subconscious level. So the belief coding, it can help you to access and heal memories and emotions and desires from your early years that might be affecting your relationship today with food. Likewise, cognitively, as a coach, I can coach you through your habits, your patterns, where they come from, because sometimes, well, not sometimes, it is important to sometimes go back to come forward. Our relationship with food often stems from the associations and attachments that we've developed during childhood. So again, as a belief code facilitator in training, I've witnessed how these deep-rooted beliefs can impact our relationship with food. But the good news is that we can untangle these patterns and mindset issues to heal that relationship with food, with weight loss, with your body, eating, whatever it is that you want to work on. So, I mean, I've done a lot of it with regards to literally every area of my life, so whatever it comes up for you, because ultimately whatever's going on in your life will also impact into your weight loss with your relationship with food and vice versa. So if you're having a bad day, you've got perhaps more chance of heading into an overeat for emotional reasons. So actually sometimes the solve is not in the food, which is where diets would have us thinking. It's actually in, well, how did we get there in the first place? But today, like I say, I want to focus on how and give you a little guide into sort of tapping into that inner child. So the little you whose experiences have shaped your attitude towards food and your self-image. This inner child who whispers in your ear and influences your cravings, your food choices, the actions that you take. So let's just start off again by just recapping about food cravings and urges. So these can occur for various reasons, both physiological and emotional. However, I'd even argue that even physiological cravings are closely still tied to our beliefs, our emotions, and our mindset. So, for example, our bodies are wired to now crave sugary and fattier foods because it knows that it can get quick energy. But the fact is that it knows that it can do that because we formed those beliefs and it's gathered that understanding. It's now a survival mechanism as part of our history. But in today's world, those cravings have got, can be a little bit overwhelming because, there's access on every corner, every street, probably in sort of the modern world. So, and of course, you've then got emotional factors such as stress, boredom, loneliness, or seeking comfort. These can trigger intense cravings for specific foods as well. And these emotions often have deeper, sometimes unresolved roots that you ultimately need to address if you want to change your relationship with food at the core. And so in many cases, food cravings are not just about the food itself, but it's about the emotion that it provides. So an urge, so a food craving is usually you're craving the emotion that it brings. So if you've got a particular affinity with a food item and it brings you comfort, if it brings you relief, then you are more likely to crave that. But actually what you're craving is the emotion that it's going to bring you, not actually the food item. Your brain will tell you it's the food item. Whereas if it's an urge, on the other hand, this is where you would ultimately be prepared to eat anything. It's urgent. You're wanting to eat for the sake of eating almost. And again, it's usually that you're actually trying to escape a feeling. So you're trying to get away from something that you're feeling, some kind of discomfort that you are feeling. And so even with these physiological cravings that we can have, there often is an emotional component of desire, for example. But the good news is that, again, we can break this cycle and we can change its trajectory at various levels. We can change it at the belief level, the thought level, the feeling level, and the action level, which ultimately will lead you to different outcomes. So connecting in with your inner child, your past, can be a powerful tool in this journey. So when you tap into that little you inside, the one who experienced joy or pain around food, you begin to understand the root causes behind your relationship with eating and those food items. And so that will, again, it will just take you so much deeper than any diet ever could. And ultimately, it's about changing that relationship at the core. So for me personally, I've uncovered many stories from my childhood. I talk about it all the time, but a lot revolving around my nan particularly, and the associations of love and affection that I have from her that are connected to certain foods. I've also used belief coding to explore some trapped memories I'd got, some trapped emotion from when I was a baby and I had tummy issues and I used to basically vomit all over the place. And that affected my relationship with food. But what I want to help you to do today, because we're not here to work on a subconscious level when you're working remotely, is about exploring your cognitive memories with food. So maybe it's the joy of sharing ice cream with friends on sunny days, the excitement of birthday cake, or even the nostalgia of bad school dinners. But these memories could hold either a special place in your heart, or in some cases contribute to a discomfort. And either way, like I say, they are going to play a significant role in your adult eating habits and your emotional connections to food. For the members listening, I will be popping some journal prompts into the portal to help you explore this further. And you also have the rewriting your stories exercises in the mind and injury section of the Food Freedom course. If you're not a member and you want access to the Food Freedom course and these show resources, then check out the description somewhere around the video or the podcast, wherever you're catching this, because there will be links. And of course, if you're ready to take this journey deeper, you can get yourself on my waiting list for belief coding programs, or who knows, by the time you're watching this, if you're watching on podcast or YouTube, not live, I will have qualified and you can look to inquire. But like I say, it's all about just diving into where these could be coming from. So where are these food cravings, these food urges coming from? Are you actually trying to get some kind of emotion? Are you trying to release some kind of emotion? And why is the food doing that for you? Why is your brain currently telling you that that's the way that you're going to solve the stress? So for anybody who has, for example, an afternoon witching hour where, it's sort of 3 p.m, you start looking for the sugar and, find yourself diving into snacks at that point. I always like to describe ourselves as like we're a laptop that we take off charge at the start of the day. And as we start to go on throughout the day, our energy levels start to deplete. So of course, we're more likely to start to get cravings. And again, our brain knows that the fastest way to get energy is for it to tell us that we need some sugar. And so we then effectively blindly follow what it's telling us to do because we think that it's a good idea at that time, whereas actually we don't actually have to listen to it, even if the craving or the urge is quite strong. So what are your food memories? That's what I want to know. Let me know in the chat, what are your food memories? So is it sunny day barbecues and ice creams? Is it the birthday cake? Is it picnics in the park? Is it bad school dinners? Is it being forced to drink milk by the milk monitor at school? Like I said earlier, these could all be either really positive and therefore you've got a strong attachment to a food type, or that you could have a strong detachment from it. So again, just take a minute just to brainstorm some examples about your experiences with food when you were little. The formative years, again, being 0 to 10, really. So again, start with the positives. At the very least, do the positives. If you're comfortable going into the more negative areas and you feel like you're in a safe space to do it on your own, then do it. But obviously, if only do so if you're comfortable to do so, because again, you're doing this remotely. And if not, make sure that you're obviously fully tooled up with support if you need support, depending on the level of your relationship with your food. But like I say, if you can, just gently explore the more negative sides as well. But again, I'll always encourage you to do it with love and curiosity. So what do you remember? So like I say, for me, it's, my memories are all around time spent with my nan, baking. We used to go down to the local Coe and pick up these fresh, crusty rolls from this sun-blessed tub from my granddad. My granddad, who didn't particularly cook, he was quite patriarchal. He would be the only one that I would let chop up my chips, my fries, whatever you want to call them, in the way that I liked. So we'd do, didn't do any cooking, but he would come and chop these chips into these little micro chips for me. I used to sneak Monster Munch with my nan. My nan used to let me have Monster Munch, but my mum said that I couldn't have them because it was going to create mouth ulcers. And so now, again, when I go towards, like, if I see a packet of Monster Munch, I still get that same kind of excitement and exhilaration of when I was that little girl sneaking them when I shouldn't have them. I also remember going to old-fashioned sweet shops after school. I also remember my friend stealing money from her mum and buying loads of food and us eating it, binging on it effectively under the slide, like these naughty kids that we were. And so we've got all these memories, all these associations with food. And even now, I can feel when I'm talking about them, the push and the pull that I have with those food items. So think about what is your favourite food, but also then think about why. Why is it a favourite food? So I say I've got an attachment with certain foods due to the association with the people. And so actually sometimes if I pass these food items, you might think that actually you're craving that food item, but actually you're perhaps craving the person or the moment that you had, that you effectively built that attachment with. So again, for me, I've got an attachment. So again, I don't know whether you're watching from and catching this from the UK, but if you're in the UK, we have chocolate bars called penguins, we have crisps called hula hoops, and cream eggs, and so they're all associated with one grandma that I had, as well as cheese sandwiches, bizarrely. And then I've got another grandma that was the baking grandma, that is then Turkish delight, baking, like jelly sweets and walnut whips, so again, what are yours? Where do they come from? And so if I have a choice now, if I'm feeling like I need some comfort, like I need a warm hug, a Turkish delight would give me that, but in food form. Whereas actually really what I probably want in that moment is an actual hug. I'm also of an age, so looking more on the sort of the not necessarily always so negative side, but of course it depends on what you want your relationship with food to look like. But I'm also of an age where ready meals and convenience food started to become available, and so they again have shaped what my go-to foods tend to be. We were of an era where it was grabbing food because you could now, because all this convenience food arrived, and so it became quite a habit to just grab convenience food. And then have a think on the flip side. So what don't you like and why? So for me, the smell of jarred beetroot and whiskey, a hell no. I object to peas, not because of the taste, but because they won't go on my fork. So I consider them hard to eat. So I have a belief that peas are hard to eat. So therefore I don't eat peas. I had a belief, which I would like to think that I've now got rid of, that vegetables are hard to prepare. Don't know where I got that from. But again, there's all these little sayings that I would have come up with along the way. And so again, they're just guiding our processes, but it's on automatic pilot because they're all just happening underneath. And also have a look around what was happening in and around food when you were a kid as well. So did you receive praise and attention for finishing all your food? Were you only allowed to have a pudding if you ate all of your meals? Because all of these things will, again, they effectively were training us from an earlier age. We're again, of a generation probably where we're told to clean our plates. So we have the Clean Plate Club. And again, are there then certain foods that you associate with love, comfort, relief, approval? Or maybe it's slightly more on the negative side where food was scarce or there's a source of angst in the house. So maybe you had to eat quickly because otherwise your sibling or parent was going to take it off your plate. Did you have to grab all the good treats, not that I call them treats nowadays, before again the rest of the family ate it? Maybe, food was scarce when you were younger, and so therefore you've got some underlying beliefs there around the scarcity of food. All of these things could be playing out. But again, it's one of those things where you can start to uncover those, and your brain will have interpreted every experience that it's had, either positively, negatively, and neutral. And for some reason, some of these stick in our psyche more than others. And they might be ultimately why you turn to food or certain foods and have certain food behaviors now. But as I said earlier, you can rewrite these stories. So I'm going to wrap it up now, but I would encourage you to think about, well, what awareness does this bring? Are you happy with your relationship with food, with your relationship with certain foods, or do you want to explore it a little bit deeper? If you are happy, why are you happy? Celebrate it. You should always celebrate the positives just as well as looking at the areas that you would like to improve. And if you're not happy, why aren't you happy? What would you like to be different? And then just think about what's one teeny tiny small action step that you could possibly take today to change that. And that's it, folks. So be sure to check out other episodes of the Wellness for Women show. Like I say, it's available on podcast and YouTube. They're all there designed to help you on your way. I openly invite you once more to join the membership if you want to go a little bit deeper. And if you want to go really deep diving in, then obviously explore one-to-one work. And all you actually need to do is just drop me a message somewhere saying #freedom, and I'll look to reach out to you. But other than that, I'm going to say bye for now, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now. Lost the AAA way. Check out the relevant links for today's show in the description. Speak soon.